Today's webinar, we're talking about Black Friday, Cyber Monday campaigns, the BFCM, as we marketers call it. There's also a Small Business Saturday, Giving Tuesday thrown in there too. It's an amalgamation. Val, you want to introduce yourself first?
Yeah, hi, I'm Val Geisler. I am the VP of Customer and Lifecycle Marketing at Digio. We are a platform that does quizzes and pop-ups, and I've been in the e-commerce space in software. I've been agency side, I've been brand side. So I've done a lot in e-commerce and SaaS, largely around email. Email, I feel like, has really evolved and become very life cycle focused and really focused on the customer journey. So customer marketing kind of blends into that a little bit. And that's what I've been doing the last few years. I'm just happy to be here with these two pros.
Greg, you're up next.
Greg Blanchard. I've been using email since the start of my marketing career 20 plus years ago. For the last 13 years or so, I've been running marketing for an email marketing platform and a CDP in the hospitality kind of travel industry. And then about 7 years ago, a friend of mine, Patrick Sandy, and I started SendView, which is a competitor tracking platform built for marketing. That's given us a really cool opportunity to blend that more niche view of things in hospitality with a broader view of just email marketing trends, both on the aggregate, big high-level views, along with the very detailed views that we're trying to help our users tease out from their competitors' behavior. So it's been really fun to have more data to dig into Black Friday stuff with, and yeah, I'm excited to dig into this today.
Val and Greg have also been on stage with us at Unspam for Really Good Emails. So I'm one of the co-founders of Really Good Emails, and we sold Really Good Emails earlier this year to BeFree. So that's why you see the BeFree logo on my face there. Prior to running this with BeFree and the acquisition, I've been in retail since 2007. I worked with a beauty company, skincare company, then to health and beverages, then to publishing, where I was head of digital marketing e-commerce at a company called Lonely Planet. Did that for 7 years. I then went to the e-commerce platform side for a company called Vtex. And then we sold Really Good Emails. And so I joined here earlier this year. So all of us have a lot of history in either the SaaS side, the helping customers outside, the running retail globally or locally. And so I think we've earned our stripes. Would you guys agree? You have the scars from Black Friday on your bodies or in your brains?
I haven't had a quiet turkey day in over a decade. So yeah.
I think our families just realize that they're not going to see us during that whole Thanksgiving week. All right, prep. Keeping your list nice, fresh, and so clean is a really important part of starting this whole process of Black Friday, Cyber Monday. And why do you think that is? Greg and Val, why should we keep our lists clean?
I think it's kind of overrated, honestly. Yeah. No, it's so, go ahead, Val. It's so important. It's just, it's a fundamental, it's a foundation of everything you do going forward.
Yeah, I mean, it's like this truck is going to drive better when it's all nice and clean. Everything's going to work better. People aren't going to stare at it and go like, what's wrong with that truck? So it's just like your email list. Everything drives better, inboxing better results from your campaigns when your list is clean and segmented. I don't want to try to sell men's shorts to women who are shopping for school supplies. Those segmentations pieces are really important. If someone hasn't opened my emails in a year, I don't know why they're going to open them if I send them 7 in a day. So, making sure that list is clean is really, really important for overall list health in general.
Based on your ESP, you may already have some of these automations set up where somebody has not engaged, let's say 6 months or a year. Maybe you're a travel brand, so a year might be actually great timing because only one big vacation a year, or something about school is only one big thing, enrollments once a year as well. However, something a little bit more consumer friendly, which might be consumption of a month to 2 months, 6 months, you'll have different stages of when you're taking people off. There's all these sunset policies of when you take somebody off your list or move them into another segmented list of our like warm or cold individuals. Super users are probably a different segment that you might be using, but you want to use this engagement filtering, which Val talked about, people that have engaged with you in the past 60 days, 90 days, based on your customer base. And then you also have a list of people that are there that are ripe for reactivation. So again, they were super users at some point. Maybe they fell off. Maybe you haven't contacted them for a while. So you start warming up those individuals and getting them used to the idea of sales are coming. We'll talk about how to do that in a second. And then this is a big one that Val brought up, which is opting in and opting out.
One of the things I love to do for e-commerce brands in particular over BFCM is offer an opt-out of BFCM only, right? So a couple weeks before the holiday hits or before your campaigns are going to really kick off, you email your engaged list and you say, hey, as you may know, brands like to send you lots of deals over the holiday. Some people are not shopping during that time. Some people just want to be left alone. If you are one of those people, you can choose to not get those emails over that course of 4 days or 7 days or whatever your time period is. And then we'll come back to your inbox in December and we'll still send you some offers and some deals and you'll still stay on our email list. Because the risk that you run over BFCM is losing people completely. They're going to unsubscribe completely because they're in just an unsubscribe rage going through their inbox because they have way too many emails. So instead of doing that, instead of having them rage unsubscribe, you can offer them the option of not getting those emails during that time. It's amazing. You will keep people on your list longer. It's an incredible LTV play because you get to keep your customers longer. You get to sell them in the future instead of losing them completely over a time period where they weren't going to buy anyways, no matter what your deal was.
I think also as email marketers, we are looking at our own inboxes and we are subscribed to so many different campaigns and different companies and competitors. And so we may feel overwhelmed when this season starts because we're like, oh my gosh, the volume is increasing so much. But also understand that most people aren't like us, right? My wife only subscribed. So I asked her the other day, how many emails do you get per day? And she's like, oh, maybe 20, 25. I get, because I run really good emails, I probably get 3,000 to 5,000 a day, right? So my inbox is very different than my wife's inbox. Yes, you'll get more emails leading up to Black Friday. The sales will get a little bit more increased. The discounts will be coming through and the anxiety might be going through, in her body a little bit, but she is probably a typical user and a shopper. Maybe she's not. Maybe she's awesome and she saves us lots of money and she doesn't subscribe to a lot of stuff and doesn't have to worry about that. But so let's jump to next, which is the blast. You might hear from your boss, hey, let's just blast some people during the season. Let's just hit them up as much as we can. That's a strategy for implosion. That's going to hurt your whole thing if you're not segmenting. So let's not blast those out. So here are some ways that we should be targeting our list. Purchase history is probably the number one thing as a retailer, as a consumer brand, as a service industry, looking at your customers and what they've done with you in the past. That's going to have so much data in there, tell you what they have purchased, what they like, how often they purchase with you, et cetera, et cetera. That's right there at the top for a reason. Unengaged and engaged users. Again, this is a great way to say these people are like-minded with us. They follow us. They're super users. Let's get them into a segment much faster than other people that will have to warm up. Location's a great one. West Coast, East Coast, North, South, international, running an industry or a company where we had lots of customers in Australia and then in Europe and then in North America and South America. You have different strategies on how you do Black Friday and Cyber Monday to each of those locations. You have different languages settings. That's a whole other thing that you have to tackle. Category preferences. That's, I know you probably know that you can sell them shorts, you can sell them jackets, you can sell them shoes, you can sell them perfume, et cetera, et cetera. Zero-party data, first-party data. Val, I think this one's in your wheelhouse pretty strongly based on where you've been in SaaS. You want to talk about those?
Yeah, so when you are collecting the zero-party and first-party data, I say when, not if, because you should be collecting that information. Email address, phone number, kind of zero-party data also is, if you're running people through any kind of quiz or survey and you're collecting that information, all that data can go into your ESP, and then you can start to segment people based off of what they've told you they like or dislike. If you're a makeup brand and they've told you they have dry skin, you're not going to give them all of your very oily skin products. You want to be able to give them information and emails that are relevant to their needs and their interests. You can collect all that through things like quizzes, surveys, on two-step opt-in forms, things like that. So there are lots of opportunities, and don't be afraid of form fields. I think a lot of people get really afraid of form fields, like, oh, they're going to ask for birthday, we're going to ask for their preference on a drop down below their email field, and that's going to stop them from opting in. It's actually not. It's going to create a more engaged subscriber anyways. So the more data you can collect, the better.
But zero party is what the user gives you or the customer gives you. First party is where information you collect that's similar to what they've done on your site Third party we didn't put here, mostly because that is informing you from third party sources. So people that are in the market for maybe purchasing a car or in the market for seeing a doctor, those are less reliable. So we didn't put that here, but that may be something you want to add if you feel like it's a good source. Customer value and discounts and clearance. Greg, I think you gave some good examples here of why you should be focusing on those two as well.
Yeah, I think, every person in your database is a little bit different, and every product that each one of you on this call are selling is a little bit different. And, we'll talk about this a little bit more later, but targeting by those products and targeting by the discounts that you feel comfortable, that's an important way to kind of hone in on people that are the right people to buy or are going to spend full price anyways, or buying the products that you don't want to discount. Just all that little matrix is important to consider.
Yeah, when I think about the blast, this is a strategy where we said, everyone loves our athleisure, and we're just going to give them all 35% off on Black Friday. And what you could go back and see is there are certain customers who love you so much they don't actually purchase with discounts, and they're high LTV customers. And so using segmentation properly in that sense, maybe giving that individual a more, a gift with a purchase or something else we'll get into. Segmenting in that sense, I think, is really important as you look at your customer history and purchase history as well. Your volume. Think about how much volume you're going to be doing during the season. So season kind of started today and it goes till the end of November probably through December-ish. Nobody is asking for more email. Think about what you're going to be sending, how much you're going to be sending. We know that these are the big holidays until Black Friday, Cyber Monday weekend. And then you have some fun holidays, which I love pointing these out because I feel like these are just ways to get to your users and add a little sunshine into their inbox to add additional touch points. I don't know, are there any favorites on the side that you want to hit out maybe in the next few weeks, Val or Greg, on this list?
Well, we missed National Taco Day, which was yesterday. So that was really it for me, Taco Day.
Well, I think, Clean Your Refrigerator Day is just, everyone looks forward to that all year. So I think that's an important one to make sure you're aligned to.
Yeah.
The Occult Day is one I think would be really fun, just to come up with some new spells. I think that's November 18th for anyone who's wondering. But it does take, on average, about 7 days to build an email. And that's based on some surveys that we've done for really good emails. We also know that the importance and the gravitas of these emails during Black Friday, Cyber Monday lead up are much more important to the business. So when I was running retail for the last decade, Q4 kind of relied on this 1 week for us. How much are we going to make between November 20th and December 15th really made the quarter. A lot of promotions, a lot of probably products that are launching or campaigns that are going to need some focus here during the next few weeks to 8 weeks. So plan accordingly. You're going to have to plan even more, probably 14 days, 21 days, get those approvals, make sure the stuff's in the warehouse, make sure customer service is well aware, all the trainings have happened. Timing. This is a big, cool one because I think this is where everyone kind of starts freaking out on when do I start promoting my emails, my campaigns, my strategies. How early is too early? And Greg here has a ton of data because SendView captures a lot of the emails that are being sent and put on distributions. So we'll let him take the lead on this one.
We're going to look at this two different ways. One is the calendar, so the classic calendar creep. How early are people sending emails and kind of when you feel like you might want to start, but then also the day of, because there's its own kind of distribution that's important to talk through there. When we talk about this as an industry, typically we use data sets that are typically like the ESPs saying this many campaigns went out, this many unique emails went out per day, but it doesn't really represent the consumer, like how many emails the consumer might be receiving relative to the normal. So that's what I want to kind of dig into. What I did a number of years ago is subscribe to 100 of some of the top performing Shopify stores email lists. And I've actually overlaid 4 years of Black Friday data from October 1st to I think December 10th-ish. And you can see that there are these little blips out there in October. If you take this range between October 1st and roughly November 10th, it's a tiny percentage. It's only like 4 or 5% of all Black Friday mentions. Actually, I think it's a little less than that. All Black Friday mentions happen during that window. So in as much as like Black Friday is a thing because there's a sort of perception that builds in the market because everyone's seeing Black Friday and they're getting excited about it, there's not enough out there in folks' inboxes for that to really happen early on. And so you kind of have to decide how early you want to go, because the wave doesn't really start until the week or two before. But yes, it kind of officially starts in November, but it doesn't really start in the consumer's minds until much later.
If you're in retail, you're already thinking about these campaigns like way in advance, right? You're thinking of end cap displays, where inventory lies, how customer service agents are talking to people. So internally, you're thinking this kind of time frame starts off in October, but what you're really seeing here, Greg, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that the mentions of those deals and discounts doesn't happen until the week or so after Halloween, because we're already focusing on Halloween.
People will mention Black Friday. Marketers are actually mentioning the event, but it's not, the deals aren't really starting until November 1st. And so we'll talk about that more in a second with some more specific examples as well. The other one is the hourly distribution of emails. So again, 4 years of data on this from these Shopify stores. This is a rough kind of hourly distribution of emails received from these brands. So if you're a consumer and you've subscribed to all 100 of these, this is what your inbox from these folks at least would look like throughout the day. There's this pretty consistent, and we've seen this in a lot of industries, a pretty consistent spike around 10, 11 a.m. Eastern time. On Black Friday, it starts at 7 a.m. The spike is at 7 a.m. Eastern time, and it doesn't let up for the next 5 hours. 4 hours after that is still pretty high. Dips a little bit around 5 p.m. Eastern time, and then comes back up before the evening. People are going hard and fast all day, and it's just a matter of how you want to play your cards to account for that wave starting really early and never really letting up significantly until the evening.
Who here is shopping at midnight? The brands are sending emails out at 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m. Maybe they just want to be the first in the inbox when somebody wakes up at 6 a.m., 5:30 in the morning. But that's all
it's the baby brands that are targeting the parents who are up in the middle of the night, scrolling their phone, feeding their kid.
Yeah, I was going to say, there's probably some marketer out there with data that's like, I know that there's all these people awake. And
yeah, coming from the e-commerce side, and Val could probably back this up, the later evening sends did very, very well for a lot of companies that were on our platform, because they get inundated in the morning by the spike you see. Then they may actually be at work also on Friday, or they may be with family, or things are starting to slow down. And so when they start getting into their inbox, it's actually more in the evening. And so that's one to think about. And we'll talk about, the volume on that day. That doesn't mean that one email is going out at 8 a.m. and they're not sending another email out again.
Yeah, I mean, and that's a super important point, is marketers are looking at that kind of distribution, and they're saying normal email volume from these brands that we subscribe to is an email every other day, typically. And on Black Friday, Cyber Monday, it's closer to 2 emails a day. It's essentially 4x what they normally send. And they're doing that because, and as we're talking, like, they see that evening that works well, but they're scared about missing the morning wave, and they're just trying to play it in the right way. Do they beat the wave in the morning? Do they wait? In fact, if you go to the next slide, Mike, I've got a breakdown of each line horizontally is a brand. Each dot is an email that they sent. And then far left side is midnight starting Black Friday. Far right side is midnight ending Black Friday. And then the line in the middle is 12 noon. And you can just see each one of them is just trying to play their cards a little bit differently. Either getting ahead of the wave, riding the wave, following up in that the quiet evening hours, or something to try to break through the noise and get seen when there's just so many people in the inbox.
So the question hasn't been asked yet, but I've heard this over the years. If I send 4 emails on Black Friday, are my emails going to go to the spam box?
We, as email marketers, we practice good sending practices. We're not sending 4 emails a day the rest of the year. So we kind of get to be jerks during this time of the year, right? If you've done your job right the rest of the year, you've earned the privilege of filling up an inbox for a few days. And it's not going to hurt your overall inbox reputation. Inboxes understand that that's what this time period is about. Like, they've adjusted accordingly. So I think if you've done everything else right the rest of the year, you're okay. If you have been sending 4 emails a day and kind of destroyed your inbox reputation up until today, October 2nd, you've got some work to do over the next month.
I think it's interesting is when you go back to segmentation, that you think about there are users who are maybe a little bit colder than you'd like them to be. And if you start sending 2 emails a day, 2 weeks out, that's going to be a little aggressive. Those individuals aren't going to like that, and they're going to unsubscribe, or they'll hit spam. But if you're hitting, I think most North Americans expect a higher volume during that week, especially on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. They just kind of expect that their inboxes are going to explode. But leading up to that point, you still have to be a little careful. But you don't want to start too early because the chances of just resonating feel off, and you really don't have the urgency that you need. And if you send too late, you haven't built up the momentum or the hype about the brand or gotten to the consideration set. People aren't thinking of your brand automatically when they think about the product they want to purchase over Black Friday, Cyber Monday. It really comes down to your strategy and who you're segmenting for. You might want to segment out people in Germany or Spain who aren't really as into Black Friday as compared to Americans. So maybe one email would be great for that location, or Australians or South Africans or Indians, whatever. I'd love to hear, if people are in the chat in different countries, what they expect over the Black Friday, Cyber Monday in their own countries, because we have a very North American view. And I've got some background on leading campaigns in Europe and Australia. But yeah, if anyone else is on there wants to throw in some ideas, I know people are looking in the chat as well. All right, so back to Greg talking about mentioning Black Friday somewhat. You want to take this off?
Yeah, I just wanted to give a more specific example of what we mean by people kind of mentioning or setting up Black Friday, but not really starting their sales yet. So these are 2 emails from this group that we received in October. One of them, the very top, it's hard to read, but it says, Black Friday is coming, sign up for our SMS list. Right? They're sort of getting people ready for it, but they're not really, this is not a Black Friday sale email. But it says Black Friday, and it says Black Friday in the subject line, so people are kind of lumping that into Black Friday emails. The one next to it is saying some of our best deals, almost as good as Black Friday. And so they're using Black Friday as a benchmark, but they're also suggesting that if you wait a few weeks or a month, there are even better ones coming. So they're referencing Black Friday, but it's not what I would call a true Black Friday email. It's just sort of setting up the sale that's coming later.
That secondary one you just mentioned of kind of making a benchmark can lead you into hot water though, right? If you are saying a better sale is coming, you can essentially cannibalize or withhold the sales that are happening this month for anticipating better sales later. Or you have angry customers who buy today and then next month they see 10% more off or 20% more off and they return their products or they ask for a cancellation or something to create a customer service ordeal. So that's one that I see all the time. Like, hey, tomorrow we're going to do an extra 5%. The day after that, we're going to do 10% off. That's a strategy that I think is a little scary to get into, honestly, because it's race to the bottom and looks a little desperate and doesn't look like you have a good strategy for what you want to do there. Another indirect mention, again, this is really just conditioning your readers that Black Friday is coming and to think of your brand when they're thinking of a purchase. And so if you're buying an appliance or plan to buy an appliance over the holidays, that's when appliances usually have a really big discount. What Whirlpool does here is they say, you're going to need to wash your clothes in the fall. Like something's coming. I didn't really get another Whirlpool email for probably 6 months before this. And then they start putting it in my inbox to let me know, hey, Whirlpool is a good brand to think of. It has that consumer psychology. We have Clippy there who's telling me about the consumer psychology. That's called the mere exposure effect. And here's another one from a running brand who uses scarcity and social proof. Essentially what they're doing here is they're telling you that this product was really popular. It had 5 stars. It was out of stock for a long time. They just brought it back right around Halloween time to let you know that that is a good time to purchase. And so you kind of go in and you're like, great, if I don't buy it now, it'll probably be available as well on Black Friday, Cyber Monday at a good discount. And they have already kind of ingrained that value and the popularity as you go into that season.
This is what we see in October, and then November 1st, it changes immediately. It's just like going to the grocery store and suddenly the aisle that had Halloween costumes now has Christmas stuff. It's the same thing in the inbox from our data set. It's November 1st is when we start to see these emails that are actually starting their Black Friday sale. And it's not a huge number, as you can remember from that chart, but people are starting the sales. And so there's a question in the chat about, are people adopting like a cyber week? Well, yes, and some people are adopting a cyber Black Friday month-long sales, or they use language like early access or early deals. But it really is, it's that clear. November 1st every year, that's when, at least in our data sets, you start to see the legitimate Black Friday deals begin.
Greg, I was in Michael's yesterday, and they already have all the Halloween 50% off, and they started to put Christmas stuff out. So it's eventually going to become like August through December, I think.
For those outside the United States, Michael's is a crafts store, and they have some other things you can do, so decorating your home. Again, back to what Greg said about VIP and exclusivity. This is one that I hope a lot of brands are getting into, especially with their first party data, that they are seeing good customers and automatically adding them into a VIP status and allowing them to get deals before others to make them feel special. Those were on timing. So we talked about, when's a good time to start sending a Black Friday emails or start mentioning it and how to do that. We're going to go into pricing now because this strategy is really integral to your business. Or went to business school, they talk about the 4 Ps. We're not going to go into that a lot, but here's some things to consider. And if you're a smaller company, you have to really understand what your profit margins are, what the product benefits are, how you're going to sell it, where you're going to sell it, your pricing. And your pricing is a big part because that is what people expect during Black Friday. They expect this price to be the leader, but it doesn't always have to be the case. You can think about what is your product and why is it in demand? Is it an elevated, luxurious product? You probably don't need to do a lot on the pricing. You probably just need to bring more attention to it. Is it hard to get as a product? Like, can you go down the store and pick it up somewhere else? Is there going to be a lot of competition for that? Who else is talking about this product? So the promotion, do you have celebrities you can tap into? Is it the coolest company on Reddit right now? That's all into the 1, 2, and 3. And then 4 is really when you have all those things kind of set up, how are you going to essentially do your pricing on that? So we'll talk about this, about discounts specifically. And do you need to do the discounts? People are expecting 30% off, 40% off, 20%. They want big deals. That's what makes Black Friday, Cyber Monday so fun and exciting for the consumer and so stressful and want us to hide in our, little holes as marketers. But what are your thoughts?
There are all kinds of things that you can do that are not discounts that are still some kind of offer. So it might be if you don't offer free shipping, then you could put that on your offer. That's a form of a discount. You could do exclusive content just for people during this time. I've seen brands like make a Spotify playlist for people and put that together and email it out. You could do loyalty points. You could do gift with purchase. You could do a giveaway during this time period. There's lots of ways that you can engage that are not a discount. We see like REI doing opt outside. That resonates with their customer base. Make sure that what you do offer resonates and makes sense and isn't just like taking up space in the inbox, but it doesn't have to be a discount, and it actually can make people more loyal. And like you said, Mike, there are people who, even with a discount, would have paid full price. If you know that that's your customer base and you can get them at full price, then why would you offer the discount? So yes, that's what people are looking for during this time. But I think that there are certain brands where that doesn't work, and that's okay. It doesn't mean you don't participate in BFCM.
Yeah, let's jump into some examples here. I ran the platform for Lonely Planet for a long time. We kind of got ourselves in a rut where when I came around, it was around 30 to 45% off books, Lonely Planet books. And so we had conditioned our customers to that point where they were just expecting, I'm not going to purchase in September, October, because I know 45% is coming out because it comes out every single year. And we'd have a huge spike, right? Like we all pat ourselves on the back saying like, look at the volume that we've sold, but you look at the margins and the margins were not that great. And so we slowly started pulling this back down to 40% to 35% to 30% so we can maintain those margins. And if you're a SaaS business, you have a lot more margin to work with because you're essentially selling just time that you've worked on the product and some other things. So you can go a little deeper, and people are probably expecting a higher discount. We'll go over what they expect as well. But Greg put together a kind of a competitive set here.
Mike was wondering if I could find a good side-by-side comparison of the way very similar brands approach discounts on Black Friday. And what I ended up finding was a handful of e-bike companies who are mostly selling around the same price range to the same sort of audience. None of these are, the high-end e-bikes that people are ripping off huge jumps and things like that. You can see from just the screenshots, we've got $250 on the right, $450 off in the middle, $400 off on the left, additional $100 off if you do this. So you can get off batteries. Everyone's got to play a little bit of a different game between their margins and what they kind of feel like their appetite is. I think there's a fair and important point to make about just brand in general. If your brand is one that you just don't discount, I mean, how many times can you buy discounted Apple products, for example, if you're not a student? Some brands just are very protective of that perception and that price point. So yeah, there's, like Val said, you don't have to discount. Find other ways to add value and give them something more.
I really like the 10% off batteries one because it says first 50 orders only. I, as a consumer, have no way of knowing if my order was in that first 50 or not. So it creates a sense of urgency to say first 50. And I know there are plenty of brands who will say first 50 and it's actually like the first 500. It's a fun little marketing play. Yes, it's lying, but marketing is lying. It gives you some room to create that FOMO and get people to take action. And you have a little wiggle room on the back end because there's no way for your customers to know if it's true or not.
I found this example really helpful, Greg, mostly because if you don't think about what your competitors are going to do or what they have done, you may be the brand that's only giving $100 off when everybody else is giving $250 to $400 off the e-bike. And if they are comparable products for new users who aren't really bought into the loyalty of the brand, a $400 discount looks very good compared to a $100 discount. Now, that being said, if you only can go up to $100, there should be some other added benefits to make you seem like it's a great deal. And hopefully those readers aren't subscribed to your competitors as well. But that's something to consider as you're going into Black Friday, to start doing some competitive analysis to look at what they have been targeting past Black Fridays. Essentially, like if you were looking at Lonely Planets, you would have known 40 to 45% off was our go-to every single year. And if you're a travel book publisher at that time, you kind of understand what's okay for that industry. Here are the average discounts that we found by industry or category. And the average was 31% last year, based on statistics I found from Adobe Analytics. If you're in jewelry, the average was 54% off. If you're in auto, the average is 4% off. This can vary greatly based off just what kind of product you're selling, the margins you have, the amount that it costs to buy that product. Like a car is going to cost somebody $20,000, $30,000, up to $100,000, maybe more if you're rich face. But jewelry is something like, is it Claire's jewelry? Like, is it like just the stuff that my daughter buys at the mall? Or is this like Tiffany's jewelry? I don't think Tiffany's is going 54% off during their Black Friday, right? So even though these are the averages, you really have to consider what's your branding, your competitive set, a lot of things to go into this.
I mean, just going back to Val's point about the different ways to avoid discounting. The way I like to think about it too is just think about it as the value equation, right? Value is what you get in return for what you pay. And a lot of times we say, well, the way to make that equation look better is to just decrease what they pay. But the other way is just to let them pay the same, but give them more. And that could be lots of the things like Val's talked about. This one I really, really like for two reasons. This is a resort called Sea Island. And what they do is pay full price for the rooms, for the vacation rentals. But when you do, you'll get a $250 resort credit. That's more for what you paid the same amount for. But I also like it because that $250 resort credit helps that person when they go and actually have their trip have a better experience, because now they have more money to spend. They can do more while they're there. I think that's a good way to think about it. Don't just give out stuff for the sake of giving out stuff. Give out stuff, if possible, that helps them have a better experience with the thing they paid full price for.
So here's some other value adds. Val went through a lot of these as well. So buy one, get one free. That's a big one that you'll see during this time frame. There's some other ones that are probably less seen, like extended warranties and service packages. So if you're in the technology or services industry, adding that as like a white glove service, or the ability just to keep it under warranty for a longer time frame. Bulk bundling is another one that we don't see that often, but can go pretty far. And if you buy this set or this kit, you'll get a discount. So individuals don't really know which product within that kit is getting discounted, but they know that they're getting an overall value. So yeah, here's some good ideas. We're running out on time, so I'm going to go through the next, which is segmented pricing. And this is how to really target the individuals based off of what they've done and really give the price based off of that behavior. If any of you are Amazon Prime members, you know that Amazon Prime Day gives you exclusive discounts during October 4th, 5th, or 7th, 8th. I don't remember the day that is this year, but also you can get free shipping and all that during Black Friday, Cyber Monday. They may have some additional perks during that time frame. So membership's a big one to segment your pricing on, and you can adjust what somebody pays based off of that membership. We talk about first-time buyers versus loyal buyers. You might need to give an additional incentive to somebody if they've never purchased with you before. We talk about student discounts. senior and friends and family discounts as well. Those will have different price structures. And then last one is customer journey. So we're going to spend some time on customer journey because this is where you can get really targeted and fun strategies with.
Lots of things you can do with where your customers are in their journey with your brand. One is browse abandon. We all have received the emails where they are really creepy. Send relevant emails to your people who are browsing and abandoned. So they didn't put anything in their cart. You have their email address already. So not to people who have not opted in, but to people who have opted in already, if they're browsing the site and they leave, you can re-engage them through email, bring them back. Hey, we noticed this was a favorite. This is selling quickly. You don't have to say like, we saw you on our website, but you can tell them this is a hot ticket item. A lot of things are moving pretty fast. Those kinds of things tend to really engage customers who were already browsing. These are the data we have on browse abandoned emails says that it has a really high open rate and click rate. I love a 20% click rate. I love a 10% click rate. So, I think browse abandons are very effective. Cart abandons, you have to do. So if you don't have a cart abandon, these are, like Mike said earlier, most ESPs have these kind of set up for you already or have them where you can implement quickly, but you need a cart abandonment strategy. CAC this year, so customer acquisition costs, are up 60% from last year because of the season that we are in the United States. There is all of our ad money is being bought up by the election, by big, huge box brands. And so it's costing more to acquire the customers to come to the website. So if somebody is as high intent as adding something to a cart and then they abandon, you just need to bring them back. And that's what you're doing with a cart abandon strategy. So you just want to bring them back. Maybe it doesn't have to be an incentive. I think you have some examples here as well. Oh yeah. So this is just a chart to show you what I was talking about. So if you can, when you have those identified visitors, you get a lift in this. And yes, this chart is from July, but this is just like a snapshot in time, right? So this is just a particular time period. You can see the amount of add to cart. So that's the cart abandon lift on purchases that then become checkouts. The point of this chart is to reflect what I just said, that you can bring those people back and then create conversions where you would have lost them otherwise. Sometimes people just need a little bit of a reminder. So this one has a reminder on the promotions. This actually is the regular browse abandon, and they added in a specific copy based off of the holiday. So it says Cyber Monday, that your card is going to expire, and so is our Cyber Monday sale. And that's something specific to this particular time period. They put a promotion in here that might have been available on the site. It might not have been. It might only be in this email. Sometimes it's just a reminder that they need. One thing I've seen perform really well across industries is just an email from support. Hey, do you need help? Like, do you have questions? What do you need? And hit reply and we'll answer your questions. Those perform really well for an abandoned cart strategy. So if you're like, I need to set something up this afternoon, do a plain text email from your support team asking how they can help.
This is one thing I think that as a marketer, we have just this automation going. And so we think, it'll take care of us during Black Friday because we already know the uplift that we have from our abandoned carts or abandoned categories. And we'll go from there. But what I like from these examples is really updating to make sure not only is it in the copy, that the promotion there, that the deal's there, but also the whole strategy is different. Like they might be sending this email 3 hours after it has stagnated versus a day after or 2 days after, because they're trying to make sure they get the wallet beforehand. One of the things that Columbia did here is they had something in your cart. So this is before Black Friday. You had something in my cart. I didn't purchase it. And what they did is they targeted me based off of that product to let me know that product in my cart has now been decreased in price because of the promotion that has been going on for Black Friday, Cyber Monday, which is an additional incentive for me. Like, oh yeah, I had that in my cart. I forgot about it. I can just go purchase it today. I hadn't purchased it for I think it was a week or 2 weeks at that point. Very flannel. If you can tell, that's my look. They also say reveal the price, which I think that's genius because if you get them to the site, there might be some other things that are new there that they might see that you can have additional advertising space for. You got similar products in this email to fit or design, but we have some designs that work for you. And then again, re-emphasizing what's going on for that sale. And then this other one, which I found super interesting, was off court, where if something's in my cart, and it might be a price reason that I didn't purchase. Maybe it's maybe shipping's too much. Maybe I don't think I feel like I could have gotten it in time. And so what they do is they say, okay, if this thing's in your cart or something's in your cart, we're going to send you this almost a referral program where you can ask friends to also buy similar products. And if they purchase those products before Black Friday, Cyber Monday, you've got credit on your account so that you can use those during, the season and afterwards for, giving gift cards off to people during Christmas that you probably forgot about, all that kind of stuff. So this is a really cool strategy that I don't see many people using, but I love it. I think it's one thing that we'll see probably in the next couple of years where people start figuring out how to bring the shopping cart abandonment email into October and early November to capture those deals. I think this is one of the last ones before we go into our Q&A. So we're going to speed through these because I think we have 6 more minutes. Personalized offers. This one I got for, I think they wanted me to buy a women's jacket. That really sounds like me. And so personalizing your emails are very important. And this is speaking to the choir here. We're all email marketers. We have the data, but let's talk through what that means.
So as I said earlier, collecting that zero-party data is really important. Quizzes are a great way to do it. A lot of lifecycle marketers are implementing quizzes, whether it's a mini quiz that's like 1 or 2 questions, help narrow down a category, or a deeper quiz. I feel like it runs the gamut. There's no right answer to the number of questions you need. It's the right amount of data that you need to be effective. But being able to personalize well beyond email, first name, being able to put that kind of information, the products that are right for them, where they are in their life, being able to retarget them through your email campaigns later on, dropping a block into your emails that are their quiz results. Those emails perform so well because it's tailored to them. You no longer have the Cheesecake Factory of options. You have a nice, mini bistro menu that's a 1-pager and it's custom just for you. If you've ever had a sommelier choose a bottle of wine for you versus having to pick, that is the experience that you're creating online. These are also a really great way to grow your email list ahead of Black Friday. So you can implement one now, start to build that list, and then have all that custom data to be able to bring back into their inbox during BFCM.
Here are some ideas that we put together that you could do to personalize other than first name, last name, or this last product you purchased, which is that first one there, which we anticipate most people will be using. We talked about location already. If you have access to your data, non-purchase actions are really informative. How far did they get? What did they search for? What was their search query when they logged into your account or your website? Have they been purchasing with you in the past? Could you give them a milestone saying like, oh, you just reached your 5th purchase with us. That's great. You just bought 5 of these. Wish list is something that most companies are probably thinking about this time of year, especially during Christmas time as we get closer to that, really tapping into what's currently in the wish list. And another cool one I thought was the network effect. So if you are an AMC member here in the United States, you have the ability to add people to your entourage, which means you can go to movies with them. That's another thing you say like, oh, these people are on your entourage. Maybe you can go get them to go see a movie Black Friday or Cyber Monday, or to that effect within your own brand settings or your own data. So let's jump into fun designs because this is the last few minutes and we might go a little over. Sorry for everyone who had an hour. So when we talk about designs, this is something we think about in an inverted pyramid. Hear us talk about inverted pyramids a lot on Really Good Emails. You'll hear us talk about design golf a lot on Really Good Emails. Essentially, this is to keep things simplified so that the eye makes it to where you want them to go. So essentially you're using this, I don't know if you see you can see my cursor, big header that goes down into a call to action. You have text that goes down to a call to action. That's called the inverted pyramid. Clearly they have clear CTAs. They use good copy. Really, if you follow Serial, they have amazing copywriters on their team. And they follow up with a double CTA. Really fun ones here. On All Trails, another brand that we love just because their designs are just beautiful. They really hit this bold discount pretty big. So if you have a big discount that you're going to go for, make sure that that's not like, the small thing next to that call to action. Make sure people understand what that is. So that's where your eye really goes to. If you do a squint test, 50% or 50 is really like the one thing you see more than anything else. But they start with the simplified text that reiterates that discount, and then they have their benefits they call off. June is another one where they have that scarcity urgency message at the top where it says, due to high demand, there might be limited availability for this product. They're really telling you that you should buy it now. Again, they have that squint test, 15% off, which seems like a good deal. If it's a high demand product, you don't need to discount it by a lot. That would kind of seem weird if it's like we barely can keep this in the warehouse, but we're giving it for 65% off. That would be strange. And then they back up with their discount code if it doesn't get applied automatically through the click. Adobe, this is pretty simple, similar to what we just saw. That inverted pyramid as well, going down to the save 25% off. They also follow up with other benefits at the bottom. 31, this is a minimalistic kind of view where it's mostly text-based with some really simple imagery of what they're selling. They also reinforce their brand a lot, where their coupon code is capitalism, which I just love that they're using things like that to be cheeky. What they're missing, here's Clippy again, they're missing a logo. So this is another time to brand who you are, get that consideration set up there, that people think about you. So make sure your brand is always clear and visible. They also are missing a CTA button, so I wasn't quite sure, can I click on that image of the product? Will that take me to that product? Where do I click? Always a button as a visual indicator of where to go. Vimeo, this is in bold and yellow and really stands out when you open it up. But in the scheme of where your inbox lies, you probably aren't seeing lots of emails side by side. You're probably just seeing subject lines. The factor of this being eye-catching is great because it makes me kind of stay on that email a little bit longer, but doesn't necessarily stand out from other emails that are in the inbox because we're not comparing it side by side at the time. It does have an eye-catching graphic, but there's really no indication that this is really for Black Friday. They never say it's for Black Friday. It was sent out on Black Friday, but is it only for Black Friday? Does it go until the end of the year? It's really confusing on that sense. So you want to add your urgency there. And if you you're doing a squid test, what's the quick deal? Because I'm looking for 25% off, 30% off. This is a subscription for an app. This free Nevo really doesn't tell me. I don't really know what that product is, maybe. So it might not be a great value for me until I start reading into it. And one of our last ones, Peak Design, this goes on that what the crap is going on with this product, just to stand out and be different. This is their brand. Their brand is to be weird. And so it's exciting and fun. And it really follows the brand guidelines. The bad thing about this is it's one big GIF. And so the load time takes a while there. If they're on poor Wi-Fi, it's not going to work. It had a 17-minute video explainer of how the discounts worked, because some products were 10% off, some were 5% off, some were 25% off. Really wasn't simplified. So quick recap, use inverted pyramids, keep it simple, make sure you have clear and descriptive CTAs, and make sure that it scales well based on the size of the device. They can load quickly, and if people can read it when images are turned off. We just blasted through the last design stuff, which was my favorite part, but that's because that's the world I live in. So we can get to some quick questions. We're already 3 minutes over. If we can spend maybe 2-3 minutes, if we've got some burning questions in the question box, the first one that we see here. So for someone who's brand new to just did a small launch, what red flags would you highlight in crafting a Black Friday Cyber Monday?
I was just typing a reply to that one. I would say making sure you're continuing to warm your list as much as you can. And then know that during BFCM, offer value to your email subscribers. Build that email list between now and then, as much as you can. But just continue to offer value and know that people will buy just by you showing up. Sometimes all you have to do is, particularly when you're a new brand, just show up. And like Mike said earlier, this is a time of the year where people are primed to make purchases. So trust your instincts on that time period. Have that super engaged list ready to go.
I would say, I think one of the examples that you shared, Mike, it was a cart abandonment email, I believe, but it was just the idea of trying to get people to be your advocates and share. If you're just at a small launch, you're trying to build momentum for something. I think looking at all the attention you're going to get on your messages on Black Friday and maybe exchanging a future discount on your next drop or whatever for a share on wherever or a referral, I think is just an interesting concept to play with, to just capitalize on the attention a little bit more.
Yeah, I think when attention is so scarce during Black Friday, Cyber Monday, I would move my product launches up into earlier in the month so that I have time to let that product launch breathe into Black Friday, Cyber Monday hype when people want to buy it. So you might not launch with a discount on that first week just to see who will buy it for, full price, and then kind of go into a Black Friday, Cyber Monday, because you don't know if it's going to resonate or if it's going to do that well for you on Black Friday. So you will want to give yourself some time to really tweak the messaging leading up to Black Friday as well. All right, how do you feel about countdown timers in emails? How do you create them? That's an easy one. There's lots of tools out there that do this. That you want to be careful because of how it's cached now in Google and iPhone. But if you have more of a day that something launches, that's an easy one to count down to. So it counts down to Friday, countdowns to Cyber Monday. That countdown timer can be set. If you're trying to say a countdown timer for a specific event somebody's going to do based off of behavioral targeting, that might not line up perfectly based on how the inbox is cached things today. But there are things like nifty images or movable ink or others that are similar that can build out those countdown timers for you that you can just include in your emails. Again, that's a good way to show urgency.
I think that visual motion is very effective, and I love a countdown timer.
We will typically write the time that it's valid until or when it starts in text, but yeah, just a little bit of interactivity, a little bit of motion just helps draw attention to that.
It also creates clarity, right? Like if you say through Sunday, what does that mean? Does that mean until midnight on Sunday? Does that mean until Saturday night? Like or until Sunday maybe is where people get confused, right? So it creates clarity to have that visual time. Oh, okay, I have this many days and this many hours.
We didn't get into terms and conditions of these emails. There's a whole other thing that I fought legal on most years on what do I have to say in this email? What can I put somewhere else just to get them to the site, right? You don't want to have like a really cool offer and then twice as long of the visual in legalese. That's just probably going to turn somebody off. But again, talk to your lawyers. Hopefully they side on your side when it comes down to that. How should you go about back-to-back launches? Our company has Prime Day, a new product launch in late October, then Black Friday, Cyber Monday promos. Then we have 12 days events for Christmas. I don't want to make viewers feel overwhelmed. So how would you structure that? So you essentially have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 12 days of events, which is a lot. 12 days is a ton. What would be some ideas from you two?
Definitely segmenting, right? So if you happen to know customers who have purchased through Amazon before, making sure that they get the Prime Day messages, and maybe there's another segment that really gets that message too. But really like thinking through that kind of logic around segmentation. Not that you don't want everyone to see everything, but first of all, not everyone's going to open every email, see every promo. So try to do as much segmenting as you can. Maybe also if you can avoid launching new products in the middle of all of that next year. You asked about how to restructure for the following year. So I would just think about when is the cutoff for new product launches. You could also say the new product launch is the beginning of BFCM for you. If it's late October, it's kind of beginning of November. So that could be the kickoff for BFCM. You can put that all together. And then 12 days Christmas. I feel like December is a separate time period from the rest of BFCM.
And I would just say that you don't have to go crazy on Black Friday. Like you can do whatever makes sense to you. So if that is one email, if that is no emails, I mean, one of the interesting points about the data set that I used earlier is that there's a group of high performing retail brands every year that don't even mention Black Friday. They send emails that day, but they don't literally mention anything regarding Black Friday. So whatever fits your kind of needs with so much else going on, I'd say don't hesitate to just trust yourself on that.
One other idea here is, I'm going to probably kick against this a little bit, but you trying to be in your minds as much as possible during this time frame. So going back to segmentation is really important, but each of these emails should probably focus on some other item or product or category. So it still seems fresh. It doesn't seem like you're going after the same thing over and over again. Now the new product launching in late October, it's a great idea. That alone should probably have 3 to 5 emails related to the features, why people love it, why you came up with the product, right? So there's going to be probably a whole campaign around that. 12 days of Christmas can be a little excessive, especially if you're trying to do an email every single day leading up to Christmas, or the first days of December to the 12th of Christmas, because of shipping cutoff dates. We didn't talk about shipping, all that kind of stuff as well. I would say this is a great time just to allow yourself to really build that. That's it for us today. Last of all, I just want to thank everyone for showing up and being part of this. Thank you for Val and Greg for joining and bringing all the data with them today as well. Last thing here is I want to thank our team that helped set this up and get us on a good path. So here are the people. I don't see this on webinars, but there's a lot of people behind the scenes that are answering questions today that help build some slides out, that are doing support, that are doing post-production, all that kind of stuff. So thank you to that team. I appreciate everyone joining us today. Find us on LinkedIn, reach out however you want. And we hope you have a great Black Friday, Cyber Monday.
Thank you. This was a lot of fun.
Thanks so much.